Hey guys, David here. Welcome to Digital Outlook, where you're gonna find the best community in all of crypto. In today's video, we're gonna talk about what would happen if Ripple lost and the SEC won this case. So guys, without further ado, why don't we get to it? So guys, when you consider this current environment that we're in, speculation is coming in from literally all sides. And we just listened to Jeremy Hogan this week, and I gotta give the guy a lot of credit. He's come out there, put out his last video with respect to this whole SEC versus Ripple lawsuit, and he broke it down pretty good in terms of what he thought the percentages were of Ripple winning versus the SEC. Now, he's got Ripple winning maybe about 50% there, the SEC down to about 30% there, and a split decision to be about what? About 20% there? Well, the interesting thing is, we're seeing the attitude that's coming out of the SEC right now, and of course, Gary Gensler is just like going off the rails with his kind of dealing with SBF and all the FTX scenario that's going on. And in fact, I think that the guy's a little bit more deeper in the shoes than what we would all like to believe. But needless to say, if the SEC was to win this case, I think in terms of this space, it would be an absolute bloodbath. You would watch them take this victory and go totally nuts with it. And there's probably not a digital asset that he would not go out and try to attack. Now, from that perspective, you've got to ask yourself, what would a regulation by enforcement SEC headed up by Gary Gensler look like should they win this case? And I think we have a pretty good idea. Number one, I think they're going to start going after these digital asset exchanges like you would not believe. I mean, we already know that Gary Gensler, his personal opinion is there's hardly any of these digital assets that are not securities. And of course, they're eyeing Coinbase as, you know, being out there and selling securities without being registered. And the big deal there, guys, is to get all these exchanges registered with the SEC, and this is not about protecting the small-time investor and the regular retail investor out there. This is about insulating all of the big boys, all the Goldman Sachs, all the JP Morgans, all the BlackRocks, all these traditional investment houses, to keep those in power that are in power, keep them in power. Basically, they are not going to allow, and they can see, by the way, guys, this whole new digital economy is coming on board, no doubt. And I'm telling you right now, they are not going to allow all these startups like Coinbase, like Kraken, like Uphold, or any of these other exchanges to come out there and to actually take over this space when they know that the tokenization of securities is the very next thing. They're moving with lightning and precision speed to deal with this. And of course, these guys, first thing they do, and I loved what Tim Draper had to say. And what I might do is I might try to find that clip and drop it in here. And he was actually talking to Gary Gensler, and he was telling him, hey, look, this is what they do.
And if you mentioned Jamie Dimon, so let's bring it back to Jamie and JP Morgan. What do you think is going to be the thing that they will have to change the most or lose market share and somebody else is going to do better, faster, serve their clients better than JP Morgan or Goldman Sachs can do?
You can just hear the bankers panicking right now.
But what
just
what
feel
line,
the panic in their voices.
What's the line
but here's
of business that is most
well. Here's what always happens. The first thing that happens is they try to go, oh, it's nothing, and they did that. I mean, that's with every new industry, every new technology comes along. The powers that be, the incumbents, the status quo, all say it's nothing. Don't ignore the man behind the curtain. This is nothing. And then all of a sudden it's too big to get in there. They're going, oh my God, I got to face this thing. And then they all line up and they wrap their arms together and they say, we're not letting this happen. And then it keeps going. And then they say, okay, well, let's sue them. or let's go get the government.
There's another thing they do. They adopt the technology. I think.
No, that's at the end.
They will adopt this technology.
No, this is the last thing they do. No,
Yeah, it's like
it's
the
after.
seven
It's
stages
after.
of grief, I
Right.
know.
It's after the press planting. They plant the press stories. They put out lawsuits. They create as much of a fuss as possible. They try to get their government friends involved. And then they go, oh God, this thing's happening. And then they go, okay, what are we going to do? How do we get it?
So wasn't that a fantastic explanation by Tim Draper about what all these big-time bankers and old-time investment houses do and things aren't necessarily going their way? You better believe it. They get all their buddies involved. They stir up as much FUD as possible. Then they get the government involved and on and on and on. And at the end of the day, at the very, very last bit, they come to acceptance. But guys, they don't just come to acceptance. They come to adoption. They adopt it all. They bring it into their own storehouses because they want to be the puppet masters. They want to be the ones in absolute control over this space. So that is definitely number one. I think we're going to see that. Now, number two, I think what's going to happen, if that does happen, if that first scenario was to take place, you would see the way in which we interact with these current exchanges, being our own brokers, going out there and buying and all that off these exchanges. I think what you'll see is that all this regulatory information come in where we would actually have to be dealing with a broker or something like a traditional avenue to get on board, whether it's an online broker or you actually have a broker or whatever, doing it for you, getting it in there and actually interacting to purchase these assets. Now, something I want you to consider is this. Right now, to be an accredited investor, you have to have $1 million of liquid cash, which means that, hey, it doesn't have to, it's not your real property, that doesn't form a part of it, but you have to have at least $1 million liquid, or you have to be earning something like $200,000 a year and be able to demonstrate that you've been earning that for a few years. Then you can go out and you can actually buy private equity and take a bigger risk, like that most folks don't get to do, that don't measure up to those standards. Well, the SEC under Gary Gensler is proposing that threshold of $1 million of liquidity be raised to $10 million of liquidity, making it even that much more difficult to go out and buy these things. And you just imagine now that they put digital assets in that kind of class, then hey, they could possibly cut out a major portion of the American population that would have access to actually purchase those. So guys, I think it would be totally crazy if we see that. Now, Ripple is fighting a very big fight. And guys, I think that they have the law on their side. In fact, the SEC hasn't been able to prove even one prong of the Howey test. And we know that Ripple started out with VC, venture capitalist money. They sold XRP, yes, but they sold it like Ford Motor Company sold Mustang cars. They sold it as an asset. They didn't sell it as a security with a promise that, hey, if we do well, you'll do well kind of deal, and use the money that way. It was not an ICO, not even in the beginning, and never was even after the fact. So I think they do have an amazing opportunity to win, and a lot of legal analysts think that as well. And I'll tell you what, if Ripple wins this case, it's not just a win for Ripple or a win for XRP, it's a win for all digital assets. It will be absolutely devastating to see the SEC win in this case, because it will literally kill digital assets, the way in which we understand them now, and the way in which people can get in and be vested in now in the American marketplace. Now, something else to say is this. If you're already a holder of digital assets and these things get listed as securities if SEC wins, well guys, you may have a potential opportunity in that environment to sell those things off in other marketplaces. But I'm going to tell you what, in order to do that, I think you're going to have to be able to manage self-custody. And having said that, guys, like I always say, utilize these exchanges for what they are. Buying and selling. Don't use them like a bank and store your crypto on there. You get yourself a cold wallet, get it onto your cold wallet, and self-custody it and be your own bank. Now, the third thing I think that you would see happen should the SEC win this case against Ripple, I think that you will see the culling of this entire digital asset space, meaning we've got 25,000 different projects in the digital asset space, and I think a lot of them, guys, are just sheer speculation, and few of them, handfuls really, maybe 30, 40, up to maybe 50, have total real world utility. I think you're going to see a lot of the speculative ones just be washed up. Why? Because, guys, they're not going to be able to deal with the whole idea and the scrutiny of being sued and put through that pressure cooker that the SEC and the pressure that they will bring to bear on these various ecosystems. I mean, we watched it with Library, and they put up an amazing fight, and they were totally crushed. And I think that you'll just see a lot of these things just fold up and literally disappear. Now, that's what I believe. Now, hey, having said that, I would also like to say this. Even when we get real regulation, and we need real regulation, when all the dust settles, perhaps in a year, 2, maybe 3 years, I think we are going to see a big change in this digital asset space, and utility is going to matter big time. So, guys, this is the video I have for you today, and I truly hope that you enjoyed it. Now, if you want to add to the conversation, just drop your comments right down there in the comments section, open it up to the community, and start a discussion. So, guys, before you go, let me remind the community of our Discord server that we recently started. It has been growing like crazy. It is an amazing place to reach out, meet with like-minded individuals, talk about all your thoughts, suggestions, opinions, and everything else with respect to this digital asset space. It's absolutely free, and the link is right down there in the description. Now, something else that comes up a lot of folks ask, hey David, where can I buy some XRP? Well, guys, I don't use an exchange. I use these guys, Caleb and Brown. Now, the great thing about Caleb and Brown is they are not an exchange, they're a digital asset broker, and you can literally get on the phone and speak one-on-one with your broker whenever you have an issue. You can't do that with Coinbase, Kraken, or Uphold, or any of those. Now, having said that, guys, you don't pay any deposit fees, you don't pay any withdrawal fees, you don't even pay any custody fees. The only fee that you pay is your trading fee. And these guys have provided us with a specific link. It's right down there in the description. You click that, you register with them, you're going to get 3.5% on your fees. And I'll tell you what, guys, when you're in a pickle and you're having to deal with a problem, it is such a comfort to be able to get on the phone and talk with your broker and get it resolved. And for me, that 3.5% is worth it. Now, guys, I am also opening up my coaching, and up until the end of the year, if that's something that interests you, for $250 for that 1 hour, we can talk one-on-one on a Zoom meeting about your portfolio, about an exit strategy, about whatever you need help with in this digital asset space. And if you're interested in that, just write me right there at coaching@thedigitaloutlook.com, and we will get you all set up. Well, guys, as you know, I'm not a financial advisor, and this isn't financial advice, but if you found value in it, if you'd hit that like and subscribe, I'd appreciate it. And hey, don't forget to hit that notification bell down there so that you don't miss out on all the videos that we're uploading. And if you're one of the thousands of people who've been watching these videos, but you haven't yet subscribed, would you do the channel a favor and join this community? We would really love to have you on board. So, in the meantime, and in between time, stay safe, be blessed, and I'll catch you in the next one.